You are welcome to another episode of HN What's Your Say? The #1 listening show where we discuss real issues with real people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly. Real name Robert Sylvester Kelly. Also known as the R&B King. While many have made claims that R. Kelly, who they have labeled a predator, he has never been abused them both physically and sexually, the evidence to prove this has remained short, and all that has been used to lock him up is mere hearsay. With no conclusive and indisputable evidence to justify R. Kelly's current imprisonment, the masses have remained dissatisfied with the court's decision and are anxiously waiting for the day the truth of the matter will prevail, in order to see their celebrated R&B king return to freedom. During our discussions on this channel now for 5 years and still going, many have raised the concern that the uprising against R. Kelly could have been a scheme to make money off his name, and to take everything that belongs to him, including his music royalties, which have been the primary source of his livelihood. In fact, all signs show that R. Kelly's predicaments were all a result of greed and selfish interest by his accusers, who are only seeking to defraud him of his hard-earned money, with Sony at the forefront believing that they can do away with paying the monies they owe him. As early as 2019, right after R. Kelly was arrested and detained, one of his unpopular accusers, who goes by the name Heather Williams, took the first shot at defrauding him when she managed to secure an automatic judgment against him in his absence, that was surprisingly granted by the same Department of Justice whose conduct we have been complaining about. This happened during the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic, when it was practically difficult for R. Kelly to show up in court or let alone freely access his own legal team. The same court system which had without any substantial reason denied him a well-deserved bail to allow him prepare a proper defense did not hesitate to grant a default judgment to accuser Heather Williams, citing Kelly's failure to attend court. They instead saw this as a great opportunity to achieve exactly what we talked about earlier, and for this reason a $4 million settlement was quickly and without thought granted to the plaintiff, hopefully to make her super rich, while they took advantage of the laws to extort the R&B king. What was even most shocking was the resolution made that this accuser be granted access to R. Kelly's royalties held by Sony, which at that time were estimated at $1.5 million, and that she should be given first priority before his former studio landlord, who also wanted $3.5 million from him in unpaid rent. Suspicions rose when Sony RCA, which had also been cited among the entities that were seeking to defraud the R&B king, was quick to agree to this illegal and inappropriate court decision that didn't follow the standard judicial guidelines. Their reason being that accuser Heather Williams had been the first person to properly make her claim against Mr. Kelly. Sony's involvement with no single objection causes even more suspicion of a plot against the R&B king that was intended to completely rip him of his hard-earned finances and leave him for dead. It therefore becomes hard to imagine that the same court which passed this so-called automatic judgment in his absence would later on suddenly become fair when it came to the Brooklyn and Illinois trials. The move to get R. Kelly's loyalties into the hands of Heather Williams without due process alone is a confirmation of the judicial system's lack of will to give R. Kelly a fair judgment, and this malicious desire couldn't have changed over a couple of months. It's no wonder therefore that we saw the very same pattern once the New York and Chicago trials kicked off. The way the New York judge rushed to illegally take money out of R. Kelly's prison commissary even before the Chicago trial could commence, and with a pending appeal process, was yet another red flag. Everything seems to have been about taking R. Kelly's money and nothing else. Thankfully, with attorney Jennifer Bonjean's timely intervention, the thuggery embedded in the $4 million default win was brought to a stop when court had to dismiss it, and R. Kelly does not have to pay this money to this rather money-hungry system. With this out of the way, R. Kelly is not out of the woods yet, as he still has to contest the Chicago sentence and ruling in the Supreme Court, and also wait for the ruling of the New York Appeal Court to know the way forward. However, the unfairness in these two rulings is not any far different from what we saw with Heather Williams, as it's all seemingly a money grab. Looking at the way the judges and their government counterparts have been quick at throwing the blame on R. Kelly and issuing such irregular judgments and inappropriate sentences, it becomes very difficult to imagine that the first judge on the Heather Williams case was never going to get a share of the $4 million that the accuser was meant to receive, even though she had not necessarily worked for it. I mean, who on earth grants you a free $4 million you clearly do not deserve without expecting a cut? It's difficult to trust anyone would do such a thing for no gain, considering one of R. Kelly's accusers' attorneys, Michael Avenatti, had adopted this approach as a way of financing his rather lavish lifestyle. What he would do is win his clients' undeserved compensations and then divert them to his personal account. Many who have followed the case against R. Kelly closely do believe that it's because of his money that he has had to go through everything he is experiencing right now. Everyone who came into his life wanted his money and nothing else. They will therefore do anything in their ability to get what's left on his royalty accounts, even if it means betraying him and lying on him like they have done for these past 5 years. According to Maxwell, when I first heard that Heather Williams had been granted a $4 million settlement, I couldn't believe this. Who gives a $4 million settlement without a trial? It only serves to show the kind of judges we have running the judicial processes of this country. Even if one is so greedy, $4 million just because it's R. Kelly is not a way to run a country. Especially when he hasn't been given a chance to defend himself. It's actually evidence that defraud R. Kelly is all this legal frenzy has been all about for the past 5 years. I am glad this was eventually reversed, but this should be the case for the remaining 2 verdicts from New York and Chicago. Even these should be reversed, for they are equally malicious. According to Gail Hardway, what I know for sure is that those women lied on R. Kelly. They know the truth, that behind it all big monies were paid to ruin R. Kelly's life. The double jeopardy was eminent to the point that they even brought up a dead person who cannot speak for herself to become a part of the case. The media houses, radio stations and the internet media were all used against him. It's sad, but this is the reality we now have to live with. If you wish to take part in a live interview on this channel discussing any of these topics, let us know by emailing us on sashahnnewsroom@gmail.com for scheduling. That is all we had for you today on HN What's Your Say? To keep updated whenever we post a new video, subscribe to this channel now. Also remember to hit the bell icon and enable notifications. And feel free to share your opinions with us in the comment section below, and let us know if you would like us to publish your views in our next release. We value all our subscribers' opinions.